ain't gonna expose. I'm not like that. I'm not a snitch. Virginity. It's a hush topic.
Yeah. They love me.
Let's see if your parents raised you.
It's deeper than the physical.
What up, fam? Welcome back to the Juxtaposition, everyone. Welcome back to the Juxtaposition. I am Nana, alongside my co-host, not the other co-host, because the other co-host got stuck in traffic, man.
Yeah, she couldn't make it. They got her. My name's Bernice.
Yes, and I am Nana, and today we have a special guest.
Yes.
Ma'am, what is your name?
Tell us.
My name is Ayesha. I'm also known as Champion.
Champion. Yes, we have Ayesha on our podcast.
Yes.
I don't know how long I've known you. You probably known that definitely longer than I have.
Maybe by like 2 years.
I feel like I've known you for maybe 6. Since 2017. That's the first time.
Whatever
I met you.
math.
Or 2016.
That
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
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 And
a
you
long
know-
time. Maybe 2014, 2013, something
Yeah.
like that.
Because I just found out that I was working at Room Promise to be my 10th year.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a grandma now. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I like it though. No, I'm a grandma in terms of like, ministry.
Yeah.
We usually don't last this long.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good
she's been around, and so we're gonna have her. She has some great things to talk about. We're gonna talk about faith. We're gonna talk about some finances. You know, the money.
Yes.
Everybody's in this world right now trying to make extra coins, and
It's a
so
struggle.
it is a struggle. And so, but before we start, just introduce yourself, what you do, a little bit about your history, your background, and we go from there.
All right. Yeah. So as you know, my name is Ayesha. I am a licensed financial advisor. And so I just started a business called Beyond the Block, which basically works with clients, helping them to figure out where they're trying to go, where they're at now, and how we can bridge that gap. And then also I work full time with Earn Promise Toronto, and I'm a leadership development coordinator there. And I mainly work with children and youth living in Toronto community housing. And that I've been doing for 10 years. So
She busy.
yes.
Okay. She's giving back, and she's trying to teach the people how to make some money and budget and so on and so forth.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So 10 years. First of all, what keeps you going?
Yeah.
Because once again, we don't hear that. 10 years in ministry, we know the politics that
And
happen.
specifically doing what you're doing.
Yeah. To be fair, like the ministry I've been with, first of all, I just love the mission. And then the leadership staff there have really taken care of me. And even when, because we've gone through our hard seasons as well. And there was times when I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. But every time I wanted to leave, God was like, no, this is where I want you right now. And I've had a lot of dreams and aspirations in my life. I'm like, okay, God, when do you want me to get at it? But honestly, the youth and the growth. This summer, there's so many times where I got emotional and I wanted to cry because I was like, I literally am looking at all my leaders and I remember them as kids, and now they're here going back and restoring their community. So I've been very blessed and fortunate to see the fruits of God's labor, So that sustains me a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you work in the community and you're helping out with your time and your gifts and abilities. So now you're in the finance game, helping people. And I know in the community, that's a touchy topic that, we kind of avoid. So
Yes.
Can you talk about your journey and how you got to finance?
Okay, so they seem separate, but as you said, they are connected. It started off really with just like me. So as a young girl, I grew up in Toronto community housing, and I knew for sure, like when I grew up, I wanted to retire well, and I wanted to own a home, and I wanted to give back to the community, but like financially, right? At one point, I thought I was gonna be like the next Beyonce, but that's a side thing. But then fast forward, I end up doing ministry, and then I'm looking at my finances. I'm like, I'm not getting at what I dreamed about as a kid. And then when I started calculating things for like retirement, I'm like, no, something definitely has to change.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, and I also want to teach the kids financial literacy.
Yeah.
So ended up hooking up with a friend. We ended up bringing another woman in. She did a workshop and just was very inspired by what she did. And beyond that, just like how it was already touching the youth. So I figured in my mind, if I can work out what I'm doing and figure out finances. I can pass that information off to the youth. But as I'm going and I'm studying to become a financial advisor, I realize like, as I'm talking to my friends, family, and just people even outside of my community, I'm realizing that the average Canadian does not understand the financial industry, specifically in Canada, right? And so as I was doing that, I'm like, listen, this is a win-win situation. Yeah. I can get at what I'm trying to do, have a business that is of integrity, and I can also still help other people get there as well. So I'm like, to me, it was a no-brainer. Yeah. So that's why I ended up there.
Yeah, she definitely is helping me. When I say like, it's important to know where your money's going, what you're doing with your money. Because one thing she taught me is like, you think you're spending a certain amount, and you're just like, and then you're just like, where's all this money? Where's all this money? You're like, I have extra money, but you're just like, I don't know where it is and where it's going. And so that's something that she definitely has opened my eyes to see and to realize. So with that being said, when you started, what are some common things you were starting to realize amongst Canadians or even the people you're working with that was a common mistake?
Ooh, a common mistake. There's one big thing I will say is that people think about the retirement plan way too late. Right? So as we're calculating numbers and people are like, okay, yeah, eventually I'm going to get at it. But it's like people, even my age, like they're now just like, okay, maybe I should start saving for that. Maybe, you know. Also a huge thing is saving versus investing. A lot of us have been taught, work hard and save your money. Yeah. No, that is a no because of inflation. And we've all been feeling it, right? Yes. So inflation has gone up through the roof. Yeah. So it's just like, if you have your money just sitting in a bank, just saving, it's actually losing value, right? Whereas like if you have it in investments, then at least outpacing inflation, then your money is actually doing what it's supposed to do, right? So that is a common misconception. Yeah.
Okay, when you say investments, because I hear people saying that a lot, what do you mean by investment? Like, do you mean I'm putting in an account and it's growing on interest, or I have a group of friends and then we're putting in money to get an investment property, or like, what do you mean by like investments in your?
Essentially, I mean all of that. And everyone has a different appetite for how they want to invest. Obviously, diversifying your portfolio is better, but yeah, some people it's an investment property. Some people is like, okay, I just want to invest in stock. Yeah. Some people are like, and how you even go about investing, what accounts do I want to invest through, right? The one thing I recommend is like, if you're trying to invest, don't do it in a regular savings account because the interest rate is not it's not high.
And so how would you, if you would like to, what were some things you would suggest in terms of just a regular savings account? Because some people are like, I don't know what account to open. What account should I open? And because I honestly have zero understanding of what the bank, like all the extra, because it's just too much. Yeah. Who's explaining this to me? I just need to put my money somewhere and that's it. That's literally it.
Yeah. No, that's so. When it comes to savings, again, it really depends on the person's situation. So take that as more of like a general statement. Yeah. But yeah. In terms of, if you're going to save in your regular savings account, it should be more like a sinking fund. So you're saving for like vacation or, you know, those short-term things where you just need to put money aside, or your emergency fund could even be in there. But again, that's not the best place to have your money grow. Even if it's just sitting there short-term, you can do something like a high-interest savings account. Or we're talking about a huge thing that people don't know about. It's TFSAs and how to use it properly. Yep. So that's a tax-free savings account. People treat it like a regular savings account, but you should be investing through that account so your money grows tax-free. And I can go in again about taxes, but you want it in an account where your money is at least growing to some degree, more than 0.01%.
With your experience, like, you know, in the community and also journeying with people, what's one of the reasons, or some of the reasons young people get into debt?
Lots. So one is a lack of financial education, of literacy. We don't learn it in school. The banks, like you said, aren't teaching us. And for a lot of us, especially those who have immigrant parents, a lot of them generally don't know any better, and so can't pass off the information. Another thing is that a lot of them get a credit card and don't know what to do with it. Yeah. It's not free money. It's true. Right? So a lot of them ended up racking up debt. Also, a lot of them misconceptions even about debt.
Yeah.
Because we have been also taught that all debt is bad. And that's not always the case, right? Essentially, you want to get to a place where you're spending other people's money.
Yes.
But
Can I pause you there? Because I was in a Bible study, right? Mm-hmm. And one of our pastors put on a video. He's like a YouTuber money guy. No, not a money guy, but he's a YouTuber Christian. And he's talking on like Christians in debt, right?
Yes.
And he said a line, or he said something his pastor said.
Okay.
So I wrote this down and I want to tell it to you because
Okay.
I'm like, this is crazy because not all debt is like bad. You know? So he said his pastor once said, debt is essentially telling God that his current level of provision is not enough for your life, and then arranging how to get more for yourself. And then we heard that, we're like, what? Like, I don't agree with it because like, I feel like not all debt is bad debt. Like you said, like you may want to get a mortgage. Yes. Sometimes life happens and like you're down bad and you may need to borrow from someone. So it's like, sometimes we can have pastors or certain people saying, nah, debt is not good. But like you said, like there's some good debt that's out there.
Yeah. And what I think it is, and I get what he's saying, and I believe that is true of bad debt, right? You're spending beyond your means, and that's not what you should be doing, right? And I agree to that degree, but when it comes to good debt, it doesn't really apply. So it's a blanket statement that needs a bit more explanation and context behind it. Yeah. I think if you give that out to people, then like you're saying, something as simple as a mortgage. Yeah. That's a credit. Yeah. You're borrowing money to, but if you're borrowing the money for a purpose to invest it and make a profit off of it, then it's different. It's no longer a bad debt. So I wouldn't take that. I would take that with a grain of salt is what I'll say.
Yeah. Okay, this is coming to my mind because I'm hearing a lot about like saving. So I want to own a home one day, and my bank account is not really
reflecting that.
No, and so as a young person, I think that's one of the, I guess maybe one of the desires, but also things that make us anxious is like, how am I gonna own something when the market is like sky high? And I'm trying to save, but I'm also trying to pay off my credit card and my school loan. So what would you suggest to somebody who's hoping one day to own a home? What are some things they can do to prepare that or to start taking steps towards that? Because it does get a little frustrating. It does get a little scary when you're looking at your bank account and how much you make and things that you have to pay off. And you're just like, am I ever going to move out of my parents' house?
Or you also just, you look at like, you look at like the landscape and how much it costs and you're like, bro, what the heck? Yeah. Like 10 years ago, we're saying this is expensive, but 10 years ago, if you look at the prices now, it's like, I would have jumped to it.
I believe in God. I do. I love him. And I surely believe that he can make a way.
Yeah.
But
this is craziness.
Okay.
We're going to have to move to Timbuktu to go buy a house. This is actually nuts.
Yeah, because they're paying people to move there, actually.
Oh my gosh.
I might be on the next flight
Me
there.
too.
Yeah. No, and I completely understand that. And for me, like, it's not just like, I guess, what generation are you guys a part of?
We're like in a millennial and Gen
Z. Okay, so we're all kind of in the same pocket,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And before I got into this, I was like, I'm never gonna own a home. Hence the reason why I want to own a tiny home. But that's a whole other story. But my advice to people, honestly, again, everyone's situation is different.
Yeah.
The first thing I would tell someone to do is go talk to a financial advisor. And also, specifically when it comes to home, talk to a real estate agent, talk to a mortgage broker. Like, these people can help at least lead you into the right direction, right? And what to do and how to go about it. But to be honest, it comes back down to your own finances and how you're managing it. If you're not managing your finances properly, then you're never going to get to a point where you can buy the things that you want, such as a home, right? Yeah. So it would start with that. If you're paying off student loan, there's different things that you can do to attack it. In terms of, there's the avalanche sort of, strategy that you can do. And sometimes they say, just attack your debt. But sometimes it's actually good to, depending on how big your debt is, you can save simultaneously as well, right? So again, I don't necessarily want to say something specific because everyone's scenario is different. But what I do say is, like, don't give up hope Your mind is actually the most wealthiest thing that you have, as long as you keep feeding it the right stuff. So go find the right advice, and also be patient with yourself, because it's not going to be easy, and you need to be disciplined. And another thing, like, when you get your first home, don't necessarily think of it as like your principal home either, right? Again, depending on your situation, pool in with other people that you trust to get the first home, to kind of get your feet wet and to get into the market. So there's different strategies, but depending on people's scenarios will determine which one is best fit for you. Yeah.
The reason I feel like this conversation is very important and like what you're doing is very important is because I'm a firm believer in the steps we take right now, like the little things we do right now is going to set the tone for when you're married or living by yourself. So that's why it's like when I hear stuff like this, I get kind of anxious as a man because it's like, yo, I need to start doing these little things because it's like, how am I going to lead a house, a wife, if I can't even lead my own bank account? Right? So it's like, I think you touched on this a little bit, but what's some money tips we can do that we can thank ourselves in the future for? Like, every time I get a paycheck, should I put 30% of it away?
Well, I heard that where it's the 50, 30, 30 or something like that.
50, 30, 20.
Yeah, something rule.
Yes.
See, I tried that. It's kind of hard.
But
she did mention this, though. But she did mention that talking about discipline, but go ahead.
Okay, so just to speak on the 50, 30, 20 rule, another young person recently asked me about that. And it's not that it's a bad thing, but honestly, I would say the younger you are, if you don't have dependents, if you aren't married, I'd say, like, yes to 50% of, like, expenses. Figure out what your expenses are. Pay for that. But whatever else is left over, get disciplined. Put that in, get your emergency savings up, which should be 3 to 6 months, and start investing, right? That's what I would say. I wouldn't be married to the 50, 30, 20 rule. Again, like you said, your situation, it may not necessarily lend to that, right? Depending on your income. Sorry, I forgot your initial question now.
I said, what's some money tips we can do to thank our future selves?
I would say the emergency fund and investing, honestly, because even if you're investing a little, because of the beautiful thing called compounding interest, that will you'll really reap the benefits of that later on in life, right? And also when you're investing, for most of it, like, don't look at it as like a short-term thing that you're going to pull out within the next like 3 years. Let that sit and settle, especially if you're young, right? I know we want to move out of our parents' home, but honestly, if you're living in a very healthy scenario and you're not paying rent,
healthy,
yes,
that's key.
Honestly, so I know some people who, like, they toughed it out because they wanted to,
God bless their heart,
to be able to buy their own property. But it's just like, I know there's this thing of like, oh, you know, like when we get to a certain age, especially mid-20s, like we should have our own place. We should get the car. No, if you need to hug the TTC or like a beater car, do what you got. Make the sacrifices now because later on in the future, you will reap the benefits, right? So I would just say, like, do everything you can now. But the best thing you can do for yourself is get financial literacy. Go talk to someone who knows more than you. For sure.
I agree with that one because it changed my mind once you started talking. I'm like, I did not know that. And so I started to think about my parents and how they were not financially literate in the ways that they were spending and saving their money. Because what I was taught as a young child, like my first job, my mom just told me, save your money, don't spend it. And I'm thankful. No, I am. I'm very thankful that she said that. But the money, I didn't do anything with it. It didn't make me any extra money. And so that money was just sitting there.
Save the money.
And so eventually, obviously, there were certain situations that happened and that money had to be used. And I didn't use it. So I didn't have any extra money out of it because I didn't invest in anything. So it's like it's a loss.
Like it's crazy how it can just
that's it was a loss.
But imagine if your parents had then said, hey, take your money and invest it.
I could only imagine where you would be. What would it look like right now? I would have been in a better, obviously I'm not in a horrible situation, but I would have had extra money in my bank account. Something I was gonna say, so one of my uncles, basically he does similar to you, he's a financial advisor. So he told us to get the life insurance. Can you speak on that? Because I don't know if everybody knows what life insurance is or how to, like, should you start now? Do you have to wait until, like, you're older? Like, what is that? And should you, because it's, obviously there's different types of life insurance, but let's make it a broad, I guess, something,
you should have something in place. Life insurance is so crucial and important. And that's another thing, a tip I'll give to young folks. Get it while you're young, while you're healthy, because it's way cheaper. Trust me. Yeah. With life insurance, the reason why it's of importance is because when you're building up your wealth, what you don't want to happen is for life to hit you and then all of your wealth is gone because you didn't have that extra layer of protection. So an example I like to use, I heard this from somebody else, a mentor of mine, and he was just saying like, okay, imagine if you had an ATM machine in your house. Would you do everything in your power to protect it? Right, because if that's the one that's where you're pulling out the money from, then your family's using it, all that stuff, you want to protect it. Think of life insurance as the same thing. Yeah. You are your income for your family, right? So you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Even if you don't have children yet, you want to start it now again because you're healthy and you're young. Yeah. Also, I think it's actually quite irresponsible, especially if you have kids, to not have life insurance. Because God forbid something. Now, I believe the cancer rate it's 1 in 2 people. 1 in 2 Canadians.
Wow.
Right? So even if you don't necessarily like die and pass on, something like having critical illness is important. Yeah. Because God forbid, it's like, okay, this happens, you know you're going to survive, but then you can't work for like a year. Where's that income coming from? Yeah. Who's going to take care of you? Right? Whereas like if you had critical illness, you could get that payment out tax-free. Yeah. Right? And relax and be able to do what you need to do. Yeah. So there's so many different reasons, and GoFundMe is not a good option.
I was about to, literally, you took the words out of my mouth. It pains me. It pains me to see people people, even sometimes it could be people our age, the picture they put on the GoFundMe, man's wearing like Gucci, Louis. And you're telling your family has to put a GoFundMe up.
Yeah,
like, that's not fair. Like,
no, it isn't.
You know, we have to be responsible to put that in place. So, that's 100% right.
Put that insurance in place.
Yes. So life insurance, you heard her.
Yes.
There's various types, but it's I have an aunt too. Like she also she had a stroke, and obviously you don't know you're gonna get a stroke. It's just it's random. You don't know what's gonna happen. And so she had a stroke, and now she's just sitting at home. But she was smart enough to start something for herself, so she's not out here struggling to pay all her medical pills or whatever it is that she needs to pay for. She has that money sitting, right? And so, I encourage people, please go. Yeah. Well, you can speak to her, and she'll give all her she'll give all her information at the end. But she will help you, and she'll break it down for you where it's like. And that's the one thing I love about Ayesha. She's just. She makes it so simple. It felt like I was reading a book. I'm not even joking. She didn't use no big words. Yes. She just made it simple where you're just like, okay.
We need people to speak our language. Yes. I think that's why we're scared to go to people is because they're not speaking their language. Like even when you mentioned credit cards. Yeah. I think I told this story before, but it was a long time ago. When I first got my credit card, I was like 19, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Jane and Shoreham. Went to the RBC there. White man, blonde hair. Oh, it's time for you. You can get a credit card. This, that. He started me off with, I think, like 2,000 or something like that. I didn't know anything.
Okay.
About money. I'm like, you know what? I can manage the money. Yeah. You know, let me just get this credit card. Max that thing out. I maxed it out. It went to 4,500.
Wait.
4,500. 4,000. I don't know. You asked me that question. I don't even know. It could be shoes. It can be.
Wait, did they increase it? So you went.
So I went to 2,000. Hey, Eric, you're looking good right now. We can increase it. Yup.
Yeah.
Hey, yup. And it got to like 4,500, and it would just never go down. Like,
okay, let me speak. I want to ask you a question because credit cards, obviously, when they call you, because I think you told me this, when they call you or they email you, whatever it is, and they ask you, we have an offer for you to increase your, do you take it or you say no?
You take that.
Can you explain why? Because some people are like, no, I'm good with where I'm at. I'm not going up.
And I get why people say no again, because there's that fear, because, sometimes they land up in situations like that and they're like, okay, I'm done with credit cards because I can't handle it. Yeah. Again, this all goes back to make sure you are working on your financial health and you have good practices in place. But the reason why I say to accept it is because then your threshold for your credit score then expands. So take, for example, oh my gosh, my mathing is not going to be right. But basically, you only want to utilize 30% of your how much credit you have.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have 1,000, then you can only use 30% of that. I don't know what the math is right now. I'll have to calculate it. But imagine now if they say, okay, we're going to increase your credit card score to 5,000. Now you now have a bigger 30% threshold. So that's why I say accept it. But with the mindset of I'm not going to use more than 30. And you should be using credit cards mainly for your everyday expenses because the interest rate on most credit cards isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good way to help build up your credit.
Right.
Right. And then when you go to apply for other loans and things and they look at, your credit score and they're like, okay, this person can handle the money that they have. They make their payments on time and things like that. And the bank obviously entrusts them because they're giving them more and more money.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you want to get to a point where they're offering you lines of credit. Because usually those interest rates are lower than the credit card.
What's a line of credit? Just because, honestly, I don't even know what that is.
People tell me if you got a line of credit, you're popping.
Yeah,
what? You got a line of credit one day.
There are different types of lines of credit.
Yeah.
So there's like one-time ones, and then there's ones that naturally like refill. The personal ones that you want to get is the one that refills every time you use it, but it's similar to a credit card, right? You use it. The money, it's like an account. Well, how it works for mine, it's like an account, a separate account on mine.
Yeah.
I'll transfer it to my checkings and then I'll use it. So, but mainly I'm letting it sit there because there's an investment that I'm trying to do.
Okay.
But yeah, it all depends. But you definitely, the main reason why you want it is because the interest rate is way lower than the average credit card. So, it's basically like a credit card.
So can you apply for that or they'll give it to you?
You can apply.
But you don't want.
You want to get pre-approved.
Yeah.
Even with a credit card, like the ideal is to be pre-approved as opposed to applying for it because they do. I believe they do a hard credit check, which isn't a big thing when it comes to your credit score, but you want to save that for times when you actually need it, like you're going for a mortgage or something like that. So. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I have another question because it has to do with a credit card. So my mom, I don't know if she's right or wrong, but my mom told me
Okay.
My mom told me that if you pay for your credit card before, it's better than paying on the day of the due date.
I think she might be right on that.
Because I've heard where you need to pay on the day of, not before, because if you pay before, they don't count it. So that's, I don't...
Honestly, I'm not even going to fake the funk. I'm going to have to look into that.
Okay.
But what I will say is that you don't want to pay back too quickly.
Okay.
It's kind of like they reward you if they feel like you're going to take some time to pay it back. Because essentially, they want you to pay the interest, right? They want it to accumulate. They want you to... they want you to pay the interest.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is essentially, like after you make a purchase, you want to wait about 10 days before you pay it back. But for some people, it's not the most convenient.
Yeah.
I like to pay one time a lump sum.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between your due date and when your statement date comes and it's being recorded on your credit report. So there's two different dates.
Yeah, I don't like when... So I have to like calm myself down because there'll be times where I'll just make so many purchases on my credit card.
Yeah.
And like 2 days I'll try to pay it back because I don't like paying that one lump sum and just here, but at the same time, like it's a game, right? I can't just pay it like all, and I don't want to be thinking about money like 24/7.
Right.
Someone told me that, and I'm like, yo, that's so true.
Yeah.
Like I want to just have a peace of mind when it comes to like the credit card and stuff like that. But I'm scarred.
I get it. But like different people use different strategies. Like I know someone who's like, okay, I'm gonna pay twice a month. So they pay on the 1st and they pay on the 15th. And that way they remain consistent. They don't forget about paying back their credit card. And at least it's like there's a varying time in terms of when they pay it back. But I would say mainly keep it to like expenses like gas, groceries, things that you have to pay for. Try to avoid paying for things that you don't have money for already.
Right.
So,
okay, let's switch gears. Let's talk about her business.
Yes,
because obviously you want to promote her because she's sick.
Beyond the block.
Yes.
So talk about Beyond the Block, how that started, and like what is that about? I guess you can go ahead and share.
Beyond the Block. So as you guys know, like it got birth from me just going on my own financial journey and wanting to teach the youth that I work with, because essentially I want them to be further ahead at my age, right? And I realized that if the things that I'm learning now, if I had learned that at, like when I first got my first job at McDonald's, age 16, hands down, I would have had a house probably on my way to getting my second, right? My investment property. So that was a huge thing. And then also like, I'm just as I'm learning, as you guys said, like, it doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
Right? But no one is teaching us. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Honestly, like my high school had personal finance.
Yeah.
And some of these things were taught. And it was just like, had I been encouraged to do that? But no, I was like, oh, you have to do like, you know, like all these, functions?
Yeah.
I don't know what they call it now even. I'm aging myself. But yeah, so it's just like, yeah. And then, or example, I went to the bank, opened up a TFSA. Why didn't the man explain to me? It takes 2 seconds to tell me how a TFSA works, right? And it would have benefited them in the end, right? So those things, and so I was just like, okay, I want people to understand that all these barriers, all these blocks that they see in their life, it could be like mental blocks, it could be just physical blocks, whatever it is, you can get past it to get to where you're trying to get to. But the sooner you get at it, the better, right? And so for me, when I started learning the information, I felt this weight lifted off of me. I'm like, oh, I can actually reach my retirement goals if I'm disciplined and diligent during this time. So I just want to pass that off to people. I want to make it simple. I want to make it easy for people to digest. And yes, I want to work with people on an individual basis, but I want to be speaking in front of people, doing things like this, reaching the masses, because people need to hear this. Our economy is atrocious right now. It's horrible. And it's sad to see, right? And it's just like, I want people to understand how money works and how it can work for you, right? Because you're gonna lose the game if you don't know how to play it.
Real talk. What was your aha moment to like start this business?
To start the business,
yeah, like what was like the moment, or if you have a story to share, like.
Honestly, so there's two parts. So I read The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Definitely read the book. You can definitely listen to it on YouTube. Highly recommend. And so when I got COVID, and this was a time when, you know, you had to be on like isolation for 10 days. My symptoms were bad, so I was bored out of my mind. So I'm like, okay, let me read this book. So I read it, and it's crazy. He doesn't tell you like actual like money concepts per se, but just how to change your mind. And so one of the biggest takeaways was go find someone who knows more than you and go learn from them. So the person who did the workshop for my youth, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. And at this point, I knew I wanted to start a business. Sidebar, I was doing sewing and stuff like that, like wedding dresses. So like, okay, how can I expand on these things? And then she was just like, you know what? I really like your heart and what you're trying to do. And we need more people like you in the financial industry. Come learn what I'm doing. And so honestly, I was hesitant. I was like, I don't necessarily want to do that, but I do want to learn. So I'm like, okay, if I do this course and I get, you know, I don't have to get licensed if I don't want to. I'm just going to know more and be able to pass the information off. But halfway through, I'm seeing improvement in my finances. I'm paying off all my debt. I'm getting, the banks are like offering me lines of credit. I felt so good. And then on top of that, I'm helping my family. I'm helping like my niece, like just the growth that I've seen in her. Like I'm a little jealous sometimes. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, okay, people need the help, right? And so from there, I was just like, again, it's a win-win situation. I get to hit my goals and I get to help other people hit their goals as well. And through what I'm doing, like, I want to get to a place, actually, no, I'm doing it now where I'm training up other people to do what I do because I know my business is going to excel. It's going to get huge. And I want to be able to get to as many people as possible. So now I'm like, I got to duplicate myself. So that's what I'm trying to do. But that's essentially, that was my twofold moment, I guess you'd say. Of like,
Beyond the Block is
the block
thriving.
TB.
So you better get on it now.
Yes.
Where do you see Beyond the Block in 5 years?
Beyond the Block in 5 years, it's definitely known throughout the city of Toronto. But also I want to expand into other provinces, so I need to get licensing for that. And also, it's giving back to the community directly to programs that I know that are really hands-on, right? There's some cool things that I want to do with it, and I want to partner with grassroots organizations to be able to, again, get that information out there. But it's successful, it's thriving. Honestly, I want to be a philanthropist. I just want to make lots of money to give it away. So it'll be like multi-million-dollar company in 5 years.
Mark, whoever's watching this, you heard it first. It's prophetic. So just letting you know, we were here before she got there. But yes, Ayesha, thank you so very much for actually opening up the minds of those who are listening and watching, because I bet you right now people are like, I'm contacting you right now. ASAP.
Thanks for having me.
ASAP. So any final thoughts, anything you want to share before we close? And then you can
some advice maybe to the young ones out there or the older ones.
Yeah. Anybody who can just take advantage of this.
I'll just repeat, it's your mindset. You need to work on that first and have discipline. And also, like, I'm a firm believer. This is why I named it Beyond the Block. Your blocks, your barriers, see them as stepping stones to the next level of greatness, right? So whatever you're going through right now, you're going to learn so much. God is teaching you so much through it. Don't let that deter you, right? Let it be a stepping stone to greatness. So, and reach out to me.
Yes, you heard her. That was good. That's good. I like that closing. That was a good ending.
I just want to add to that. When I think about Beyond the Block, it's like when I lived in the hood and stuff like that, like some people's minds were trapped in the hood. But my mind and a lot other more people is like, we thought like, we live here, but we don't live here. Like our minds don't live here, right? So that's why I thought about like a lot of stuff, like even with this podcast or like, just like I'm a dreamer. It's like I always knew that more things can happen if you just work hard. So I like that. I like
a good
that.
closing.
Yes.
Well, before we close, why don't you share your Instagram information where they
share
can
all of
find
that.
you, contact you?
Yes.
Because come on, if you ain't say it, we won't say it. You need to get on it right now.
Yes. Schedule is booking up already. So follow me on Instagram at Get Beyond the Block. Reach out to me through there or through email, getbeyondtheblock@gmail.com. So, get to me while I have the little time I have.
Yes, because she's busy. She's not just the financial advisor. She's also a leader in the community.
Facts.
She's making impact in so many ways. I can't even. So God is definitely using her, and I'm excited to see what's next for her in terms of this season, the next year. Like she already said she said multi-million. So I'm with her. I'm holding it too. I'm like, I'm journeying with you too.
You guys will be right there.
I'm following along.
5 years we're gonna do another, and you guys will be in a big studio.
Amen to that.
Great things are gonna happen.
Amen to that. Well, once again, thank you for everyone who's listening all the way till the end. I hope you learned something new.
Yes.
I'm always learning from Ayesha. She's fantastic. So once again, we are on the road to 1K, right?
Yes, we're on the road to 1K subscribers. So you guys have to like, subscribe.
Get us there.
Yes. Ayesha's people that are watching.
Yes.
Like and subscribe.
Share.
Okay. Welcome to the team. You're
Not
with us
only
now.
if it's valuable to you
and
you know it's going to bless somebody, share this. Please do. So that we don't keep it here and it's just in your mind or in your ears, but someone else is benefiting from it. So go ahead, follow us on Instagram, the Juxtaposition Podcast _. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Google, you name it. We're everywhere.
And the beauty about YouTube is that it's forever going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
we can watch ourselves age.
right?
Oh gosh, a little bit of wrinkles over here and there. Well, that is all for us. Janet says bye too. I know.
Oh, Janet, man.
But it's okay. She'll be here next time.
Yeah, she will.
Well, once again, thank you once again. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Peace.